Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is Friday the 20th of September. So today we'll start with Tesla that yesterday in the American session, of course, broke this gap area here. It's been struggling for a while, but yesterday it actually something lifted it higher and closed above the gap area. We are now back in bullish trend. It is confirmed with the RSI above 60, meaning we are showing a positive threshold. So there's potential higher to previous peaks around here, 265, 271. And if it takes out that level, well, then there could be potential up to around 300, 313. So keep an eye on that one. That is quite interesting. If it slides back and close back below the gap area, that could cancel the top and this bullish breakout. On the US indices, S&P 500 closed at new all-time highs yesterday, and we also had the RSI back above 60 threshold, and there's no divergence. It canceled it. So we can write down here, which I'm going to do now. There we go. No divergence. There's potential up to 5,800, maybe a little bit higher in the coming days and weeks going into next week. If it closes the gap and slides back lower that it created yesterday, well, then it could be in trouble. But also here on the US 500 CFD, looking fairly strong. New all-time high close yesterday. A little bit setback today, maybe, but RSI above 60 threshold, no divergence, indicating we could reach up to 5,820. Nasdaq 100 got rejected just at 19,939 yesterday. It was the peak of this bearish engulfing here, and that would be key. It is facing some really strong resistance. We have the gap area here, 20,041, 20,211. So that will be really a struggle for Nasdaq. However, yesterday it actually did close above the RSI, closed above 60 threshold. We are now back in positive sentiment, and we actually built this, you can say, uptrend here. We are above the cloud. We are above all moving averages. Could have a little bit of a setback, as we can also see on the US NAS 100 CFD, but I think it will crawl higher in the coming weeks. It will maybe be lifted a little bit by semiconductors, but they are actually not the one running the show at the moment. Tesla is, Apple also very strong, but as you can see here, US NAS also just below this previous little peak there, and strong resistance at 20,290. EUROSTOXX 50 closed also its gap here yesterday. Very strong move, testing it from the upper side now, and the RSI also tested this 60 threshold, didn't break back above, and that will be key here the next couple of today and going into next week. Can it close above 60 threshold or not? If it does, then I think it also will take out the previous peak here in early September at 4,987, and then it has for good cancelled that bearish engulfing candle. It did worked well, and then market turned around again, and this is what happens. So that's how it is. If it does close above that level, well, then there's potential up to around 5,100. On the German DAX index, that had a very good day yesterday. Not so much today. It's back down about 0.7% for now, but it actually did close at a new all-time high and just above the 19,000. It is an uptrend. There is now divergence as we're looking at closing prices, so there is divergence, but I think it will take higher in the coming weeks towards 19,290, maybe even higher, but it should be able to reach that level right there. But for today, it's struggling a little bit. I haven't checked what is actually causing it. On the Amsterdam index, just touched the 909 yesterday from a few cents just below the 100 moving average. So it hasn't really closed the gap. It needs to close above, and we need the RSI to close above 60 threshold for a bullish breakout with potential up to 927 and 930. The CAC index actually closed above its very short-term gap area and resistance at 75. We talked about it yesterday. There should be potential up to 77.25, but the RSI is not back above 60 threshold. I would like to see that for potential higher, and as we can see here, it is actually in a negative sentiment because it was below 40 threshold here back in early September. I still believe that it will be caught range bound in between this 73.40 and 77.22.25. That would be a struggle to break that resistance up there, where we also have the 100 and the 200 moving averages adding to that resistance. On the Swiss market SMI 20, you can see here yesterday it actually tested the 12,120 just below here. Tested it, but kept in this range, and that is the range to it needs to break out 11,875 and 12,120. Your dollar is crawling slowly higher towards 112. If it takes out 112, which I believe it will, then there's potential short-term to 112.17. But as we also talked about, there is potential higher for euro dollar, since it broke out of its triangle-like pattern. It's broken some resistances that we have looked at on the weekly chart coming up here. One moment, and then it's low. Yeah, there we go. 112.75, but medium to longer term, 114.50 area, 60 area here on the weekly chart. As we can see, that would be a significant break if it takes out 112.75. On the euro sterling, has taken out the 84. Well, it did yesterday, but it closed above. But this morning, you can see it breaking below, and there's now potential down to around 83.40. It comes back from this little spike down here back in 2022, and there is actually a potential lower to 82.30. That is the strongest support that we have. You can see the downtrend has continued. It tried to break out of it here some time ago, but it didn't manage to do so. So now we can safely say, well, we are forming this falling triangle, maybe falling wedge, but it doesn't really look like it. I think we'll push lower towards the 83.40 level. Also, cable pushing higher this morning, and also on the weekly chart. We can see what's actually going on. We see here pushing higher. Yesterday closed above the previous peak and is on its way higher towards the 138.2 projected at 133.65. Could push higher, and we can see here on the weekly chart, it's really strong bullish move. There's no divergence on the RSI on the weekly, and there's potential up to 135. No strong resistance on cable until this area here that is between 135 and up to 137.50. So that's the technical picture at the moment, also on medium term. Moving on to the yen pairs, and you can see now I divided everything into chapters, so you can better jump right to the chapter we want to hear about. And now we're talking yen pairs. Dollar yen formed this bottom and reversal pattern, doji morning formation, and I think it will push up to the 61.8 retracement at 144.30. Could push all the way up to the 786 retracement, 145.57, but we have strong resistance up here at 147.20 level, where we have the 55 moving average coming down, and we are still in a negative sentiment, despite we're seeing a divergence here on the RSI. So it actually is supporting the rebound view and reversal, but I'm not quite sure it will break this 147.20-21 level. Let's see that if we get up there, but for now 145 430. If it suddenly slides back lower and the 139 level, 139.57 is taken out, well, then expect much lower levels towards 135 on dollar yen. On euro yen, also a rebound picture, as you can see here. Here we are. And it is actually currently breaking the 160 level and is likely to push higher to the 786 retracement at 161.25. Key resistance levels will be up here, and what we can do, we can just add a resistance line, and right there then it's more clear. So that would be strong resistance here at 163, 164 in this range here. We also have the 55 moving average coming down. So I think that would be the end station. If we even get up there, we could also stall here at the 786 retracement, 161, 23, 25. On the Aussie dollar, Aussie yen, also pushing higher, currently above the 97.25. I think it will push higher to 98.50, but the strong resistance is up here at 99.90. Well, basically just below 100. We have the 100 moving average coming down, putting a lid on it. So that could be a bit of a struggle, but if that can close above, I don't think it will happen this week. Could be a test next week, but let's see. It could also be rejected here at 98.50, where we had the 55 moving average almost coming down there, and we're still in negative sentiment on the RSI. So that will be a little bit of a struggle for the Aussie yen pair to push that higher. The sterling yen almost reached in the 786 retracement at 197.40. Could push higher and test the 193.40, 993.50, but also here we have the 55 moving average coming down. We have the 200 kind of putting a lid on it here. RSI, I think it will test the 60 threshold if it's being rejected, and the sterling yen being rejected here at the 786 retracement, then I think we will see a setback down towards 188 again. So really crucial times here. Possibly next week we're going to talk about on also sterling yen. Aussie dollar pushing higher, testing the previous peak here from August at 68.25. There should be potential up to the strong resistance at 68.70. Well, strong. Well, you can see where it comes from. That was the peak back here in December 23. So we could stall a little bit there. However, we are in a positive sentiment. There should be potential higher for Aussie dollar here, but it could be stalling a little bit in the coming days and going into next week. Dollar Canada, which is coming up here, that got rejected yesterday. I think it will start resuming. It will resuming a downtrend in the coming weeks. But if it crawls back above 135.90, well, then look out for the peak here from yesterday at 136.48. If it suddenly takes that out again, well, then there's a completely different situation. And also, if we get the RSI back above 60 threshold, well, then there's suddenly potential up to the 61.8 retracement at 137.54, and that could be a total game changer for dollar Canada. So keep an eye on those levels there. They seems to be very crucial for dollar Canada. On Euro Swiss, well, had a good bullish day yesterday on Euro Swiss, almost up to the 61.8 retracement at 94.80. I think it will be touched today. Key question will be, can it actually close above 60 threshold on the RSI? If it can't do that, well, then there could be a little bit more potential. But we have the 55 moving average coming down. We have the 100 also putting a lid on it there. We have the 100, that was the 200, 100 coming down. So that's a little bit of a struggle in this area. But I think we could at least test the also the 95, maybe spiking up to that, and the upper part of the cloud area. If it's being rejected, then expect the downtrend to resume. So really also some interesting moves on the Swiss pairs, and here we have dollar Swiss that is just caught range bound, still range bound. We talked about yesterday 85.40 and 84 to the downside, and it really needs to break out of that range for any meaningful potential up or down. The dollar index slightly crawling lower. Basically, we are in a negative sentiment. There is divergence on the RSI, however, but I think it will push lower. But if it takes out the spike up from yesterday, 101.18, well, then expect a dollar index to test the resistance here at 101.86, and that could be very crucial. Gold and the bigger picture. This is the monthly chart of gold, and I drew this a long time ago, and if we zoom out a little bit more, we can see what's actually going on. So this bullish move up there, and it has been projected higher up here from the correction, and then we are talking about 26.43.5, and I think we will touch that quite shortly. We are currently above 2600. It could even push higher, and then that will be key here the next couple of. But look at the RSI, really above 75. It's almost at 80 level. I think we could be in for a correction, but I want confirmation for that that picture to play out. And we can also see here that we do have a little bit of divergence on the monthly RSI, but here we are on the daily. We can see how it is actually pushing higher, and it is still having a little bit divergence, but it seems to be cancel it if it can get back above this trend line here, which is testing at the moment. Well, then there is it will support higher levels in the coming weeks. But 26.40-45 level, expect that to materialize. Again, it's not a given, and if it takes out the low there at 25.46, then expect a larger correction. Silver is on its way to 31.55. I think it will break it, but could be set back at first go, and we could see a push towards 32.5, and that will be a very strong resistance area up here. We can see where it comes from back over here in May and June. So a little bit of a struggle there, but we are in a bullish trend. There's no divergence on the RSI, which is showing positive sentiment supporting higher silver levels. On copper, that closed above 432.90 yesterday, struggling for further momentum, but we are in a positive sentiment now on the RSI, but it could be a little bit of a struggle where we have the 100 moving average coming down there, kind of putting a lid over, but there should be potential higher towards a 450 area. I wouldn't be too scared if it dips below the 432.90. I think it could, and then we could have a next upwards move, but the 100 moving average will weigh a little bit on it. WTI crude oil touched the resistance at 72.41 yesterday, got rejected. Didn't get all the way up to the 61.8 retracement at 72.89. It could still do that, but we can also see here on the weekly chart what's actually going on. It was rejected at the lower rising trend line in this triangle-like pattern here, and that is not unusual after a breakout that is being tested from the underside and then a downtrend resuming, which I think it will in the coming weeks. If it's being rejected now here and being sent back down below 70 level, expect selling pressure to resume. There's still risk to spike up to there, but then I think it is it. You can also see all moving averages declining there, kind of putting a lid on it. More or less the same picture on the crude oil. The Brent crude oil actually bounced to the 50%, just below this resistance here at 75.58. and if we move it down there, well, it's tampering. But this is the resistance area that is currently being tested. You see, you had a little spike down there. So around 75, 60, a strong resistance area. And if it starts sliding lower here today and going into the next week, then expect downtrend resume. We can also see here on the weekly chart, same behavior, testing the lower rising trend line from the underside. And then if it can't get back above, well, then expect downtrend to resume. The US 10-year Treasury yield has bounced strongly after hitting. We can see the support here at 364, 360. It comes back from that little consolidation area, upper part of it here on the weekly chart. And it's actually bounced to touch the upper falling trend line in this wedge-like pattern. And 50% of, if it takes out that level from spike up from yesterday at 377, well, then expect a push up towards 385. I'm not quite sure we will get all the way up to 392. We have some strong resistance in this area here, and 4% seems like a distant time now. It's in the past, but let's see here in the coming weeks and months. What is interesting though, and should keep an eye on, is that there's divergence on the RSI, indicating we are in an exhaustive move here on the US 10-year yields. So if it takes out the 377, well, expect at least a push up to this region, 385, possibly 390. But as long as it stays below the falling trend line, we are in a bearish trend. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and a nice weekend. Talk to you again Monday.